This is Andy for Boxing News. I'm joined by Matchroom Boxing CEO Frank Smith. Frank, good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you, sir. Here we are. We had the weigh-in today, Glarifys. A few people continue to tell me how difficult of a test this is ahead for Glar. Obviously, I'm very aware of Francisco Rodriguez, but those outside of the sport, those who maybe those casual audience, that casual audience you would look to tap into, what should they expect from this fight?
I think we're going to see a real war. You know, you saw Rodriguez up there today at the weigh-in, and I've said sometimes you stand there and you don't feel that confidence. That guy standing opposite Glarifys feels like it's a foregone conclusion. He's going to come and rip that belt away. You know, and that's what we need in fights. We need fighters to come and believe that they can do that. The difference is here, Glarifys is a special fighter, but I think we're going to be in for a treat. You know, I think we're going to be in for a right tear up while it lasts. Glarifys, obviously, brilliant performance last time out against Sonny Edwards, moving quickly in his career. Got to get through this on Saturday to go and fight for the full world title. But yeah, it's not going to be an easy night's work.
I did speak to Glar yesterday about the Sonny fight because obviously in the press conference, Eddie made some comments about how Sonny was coming towards the end of his career and Glar somewhat bit back at that. Do you feel like people have discredited Glar's performance against Sonny from that fight?
I don't think so. No, honestly, I don't. I think he got a lot of respect off of it because everyone knew how good Sonny Edwards was. I think he got a lot of respect from the fans and a lot of people saying, do you know what, he's a special fighter. So I don't believe so. I saw what you were speaking about there yesterday. I think he just doesn't want to feel like his biggest win is taken away because Sonny Edwards retired. But I think if you go back to that night, everyone was talking about Glarifys and that performance.
Away from him, obviously, you've got Conor Walker and Liam Taylor as well. Peter McGrath and Iona Beluta. But you not fancy translating for Peter McGrath today?
No, do you know what? I went up on the stage. I speak a tiniest bit of Spanish from when I was at school, and I always say the same thing. And Beluta then thought I spoke fluent Spanish, and then tried to have a conversation with me in Spanish, and I was like, this. And then McGrath asked me to translate. And then Peter said he thought what Eddie said up there yesterday was true about Scousers.
What did he say about that?
He said something about all Scousers being something just to, you know, and obviously that is not the case. Eddie does not speak Spanish. Beluta did not say anything about Scousers for all the Scousers watching.
Yeah, I don't think Beluta is going to be very popular in that Red Triangle gym. Just away from him, a few things to touch on. Jaron Ens' move up to 154. Announced the night before we saw Brian Norman Jr. produce a potential knockout of the year contender against Jin Sasaki over in Japan. Firstly, what did you make of Norman's performance? What did you make of Boots moving up?
Can I be completely honest with you? It's going to be terrible. I didn't even know Brian Norman boxed.
Have you seen the knockouts?
No. I mean, let's just go back to 7 months ago. We offered Brian Norman an absolute fortune, probably 6-7 times more than he was ever making for that fight against Jaron Ens. He turned it down. Right, so it's not Jaron Ens didn't want the Brian Norman fight. He wanted the biggest fight possible. Instead, he fought Stanionis, and a spectacular performance against Stanionis that night. You know, you've always seen at the weigh-ins, he's got to the point of, I think it's a push for him to make 147. And, you know, he's now going to 154 because that's what suits him and will suit his career moving forward. So he's going to be involved in great fights at 154. He's not shying away from Brian Norman. That is not, you know, in any way part of a decision. So I'm excited about what the future holds.
If you go straight into 154, I know you'd have to position yourself for a world title, but given his name, his stature, is it immediately big fights? There's no kind of settling into the division. He has to go straight into a big fight.
No, he needs real fights, and he wants real fights. He doesn't want easy fights that do nothing for him. He needs to be motivated. We saw that. That Stanionis performance was because he was motivated, and he knew there was a chance, you know, that he was going in there against a guy who could beat him, who is good enough. But he showed the levels he's at, and I think the key is for him is having that motivation in the right type of fight, and that's what we need to go and deliver.
Richardson Hitchens very dominant against George Kambosos Jr. this past weekend. What do you make of his performance? And of course, his post-fight comments have been a talking point. Still a belief or a plan there that you can work together moving forward?
Yeah, look, I think yes, it was a great performance from him. You know, fair play to George Kambosos, who, as always, showed so much heart, grit and determination. He's been in there against the biggest names in the sport. You know, it'd be interesting to see what he chooses to do next, but he's had some amazing nights. But Richardson, tremendous performance, and taking him back to New York for us, and we felt George was the perfect opponent for him to build him to where we believe he can go to. The comments afterwards, look, I'm always quite open. I don't really care about much. I'm quite cold, and I think you have to be in boxing, otherwise you'll struggle to survive in this industry. I don't agree with his stance, and I don't agree with what he said. Yes, he's a free agent. I think there's a way to do it, and I don't think up on the stage after the investment we've made in his career. And I see all the comments of people, yes, he's got in the ring, he's delivered 100%. And without that, it would be nothing anyway. But I do think promoters get a hard time sometimes when you invest a fortune, multiple millions of dollars to get someone somewhere, and it's like, thanks very much, I'm off now. And I think sometimes it's too much of a short-term view, especially from managers, and it's like, I can get another 100 grand here or 50 grand here. There's no long-term plan or vision. Can we work with him? Of course we can. But I think when you work so hard for someone to deliver, and then fighters go, cool, I'm going to go and see, it changes the mindset. And you're only then going to do what suits, what makes sense. Ultimately, we will always deliver upon our contracts. If we say we're going to do that, we're going to do it. But if you're not there with us and we're together, we're never going to go above and beyond, because you don't have that same feeling for us. So it's going to be like, right, we'll do our job. And look, every relationship's different. I think when you sign someone on a one-off fight, different relationship, isn't it? When you build someone and you're on a journey together, and you give them 5-6 fights to get them to that position, it's different. And you expect, I think, maybe a mutual respect. And don't get me wrong, we're a small enough industry. You don't need to go up on the stage and go, I'm a free agent. Everyone knows, it's a small enough business anyway. But I don't really care too much about anything in a sense of not much affects me. I'll say if I don't agree with something, but I will.
Have yourself or Eddie spoken to him since then, personally and direct?
Eddie spoke to Richardson. I spoke to Keith for 20 odd minutes afterwards. But again, I'm so placid, I'm like talking to a brick wall sometimes. So it's what it is. Just have to get on with it.
And away from that, the Eubank Jr. Ben rematch, obviously we know that September 13th Canelo Crawford, September 27th Spurs are at home, that leaves the 20th, the 6th in September. Eddie mentioned October 4th as a potential date as well. What do you think seems most likely at this stage?
We are working on September 20th as a potential date at Tottenham. There's a few issues with the Champions League fixtures as well. Obviously not being that date, but around it, obviously being a football club, the focus is the football. We'll see. I think in the next few days we'll have a clearer picture. We want it the biggest attendance possible. That fight is going to be even bigger than the first time round. So, I want it to be back at Tottenham.
If there is an insistence of September, and say if it does become a little bit too tricky because of football fixtures and anything else which might be going on with the club, is there a potential to move it to a different venue? Has that been discussed?
Not yet. We are looking at options, but nothing more than that right now. I'm pushing September 20 currently. October 4th was a date, but it mentioned, but it's all around the fixtures, and it's difficult with the football season. And if you go a bit later, it's a bit colder, but maybe it's been done before. So let's see.
Sky and Boxers split now. Where do you see a Boxer going once that's kind of officially announced? And I've seen some reports that TNT might be interested. Do you think there's any movement there with DAZN as a partner with DAZN?
Don't know. Don't really care, to be honest. Good luck to him. I can't really ever say the right thing when I answer these questions. People just think I'm a bit of a hater. So if they deserve a deal, they'll get a deal somewhere. I don't represent DAZN. I don't represent any other broadcaster. I've just always only ever given my opinion about what they've done as a business. And if I was a TV executive, I'm not. I wouldn't be jumping up and down to give him a deal. But good luck, best of luck to him. Let's see what happens. It's going to be an interesting few months.
Depending on the contracts of their fighters, is there something there which you'd be interested in, if they are available and free to talk, fighters there you'd like to have a conversation with?
If fighters are free and out of contract, whether it's whatever promoters, we're always interested in discussing opportunities with fighters, yes. I'm not going to go out there and say, I want this guy, so get out your time will tell. what happens, but obviously we're always interested in signing new talent. We'll always keep our eyes peeled wherever there's opportunities for free agents.
Beterbiev-Bivol Trilogy, Frank. What is the latest on that?
That's the fight we'd love to make. Dmitry took a bit of time. He'd had a busy run. He'd fought in June, October, and then February. 2 of those fights being against Beterbiev. Tough fights. He needed a bit of a break. You'll see him back out towards the latter part of this year, and the focus is the trilogy. It's a tremendous fight. It's a fight everyone wants to see. And look, there's also an eye kept as well on the Canelo result against Crawford, because that's a natural fight against Bivol as well.
I mean, on that note, I heard you say earlier the Canelo fight. Obviously, Canelo Crawford being in September, you'd imagine if he's to fight again, it'll be next May. Canelo, that is. So, is it still Beterbiev-Bivol the number one fight? Or are you actually exploring other options as well now?
Not really. I mean, Beterbiev-Bivol is the one that's always been spoken about. But like I say, Canelo is there, and the time frames probably make sense. September's not long away now, is it? So
could Bivol hold out until next May, do you think? Or
I don't know, but he doesn't necessarily have to fight in May. It could be, it could be before that. But I don't know. It's not being spoken about, so it's just more in the back of the mind around what fights could make sense.
It's more so, obviously, maybe synonymous with Canelo and his career. But
I think, obviously, with the Saudi element now, and he's fought in February before. We've done shows with him there, so let's see.
Final one, Dave Allen. A lot of talk about him getting an offer, or certainly talks about a potential top 5 heavyweight. At the top of my head, I was trying to think who it could be, and one of Adji Cabell or Joseph Parker came to mind. What can you tell me, Frank?
There's people want to fight Dave Allen. He put himself in a great position with that win against Johnny Fisher. He's got a huge profile, and it would be a massive fight for whoever can get him. But lots of talk ongoing about what's next, but no news just yet. Speaking
to him yesterday, he said the British title is also an opportunity there with Jamie TKV, but it's for him now in this stage. He's got a family. He wants the big paydays. He wants those big fights again. Do you feel like he leans towards that ahead of, say, those sentimental fights for the title?
Yeah, I think so. If the fight makes sense for him, yeah, I think so. But he's in a great position, and he can, be patient and see what's there.
Frank, appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Thanks very much.